Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Art Podcast with Art by Jaeger. And today I have a very special guest with me, my girlfriend, Lauren. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, also known as Psyryn. She has a pretty big channel of her own as well. Talks a lot about very interesting kind of spiritual things that happen, a lot of mysticism, and her own journey into dreams and adventures of the mind, too. I've seen a few of your lives. I've been on one as well. I really appreciate what you have to say, and I know you have an audience that appreciates your wisdom and knowledge as well. So today I brought you on because you wanted to share a piece that you've painted. When did you paint this one?
Oh my gosh, this was earlier this year, right? I think.
Yes.
Back in March and April.
Yes.
I don't know when I painted that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this was based off of a dream that I had a long time ago, probably 10 years or so ago. And the dream, it was strange. So to just describe the dream, before I did any interpretation of the dream, I was in this dark space, and if I knew that I was in a tree. There were other beings with me in the tree. All these beings were like, they had wings. They had wings. They were living in this tree. And I felt like I had done something inappropriate and like against sort of like a moral code of these beings that were living in this tree. And it also wasn't obviously a tree. It was just sort of this black space, and I felt like it was sort of this point of creation in this space, hard to describe. So something happened. I don't know exactly what happened. And then I remember being like cast out of this community, and all of a sudden it was like I wasn't flying, but the wings that I had were like keeping me up in this tree world, and my wings were suddenly gone, and the next thing I knew I was like actually falling out of a physical tree. Like I could feel branches and leaves rushing by me, and then all of a sudden I was out in the open in the sky.
Yes.
And then I became aware that this tree that I had just fallen out of previously, I was holding a dimension of space I was in this dimension in this tree, and this tree was suspended over this planet as I start falling towards the ground of this planet, which the earth there was like, I just remember seeing it, falling from space into blue sky, and a horizon of like reddish orange rock, and this big, like, I don't know what you would call it, not a canyon, because it wasn't like a narrow passage, but it was like this deep dish of like a crater, like a giant crater. That in the center of this incredibly enormous crater, there was this spire of a tower.
Interesting.
And I just remember falling, and as I start falling, I remember seeing the tower, and it's like an impossibly tall, like the tower was taller than the tops of the plateau around the crater. And I remember like seeing the tower as I'm falling down.
Nice.
So that is the dream. So there's some different things in this that sort of represent elements of the dream, and also what was sort of visually there, literally in the dream. So yeah.
That's some pretty interesting symbolism in there.
Yeah.
So was it like how would you categorize this dream in your category of dreams? Was it like a lesson dream or a real thing? It seems quite symbolic more than anything.
It was very symbolic.
Yeah.
It felt like it felt like I was myself, but it felt like a totally other. I felt very removed from, like, I didn't have any sense of myself as who I am in this life. It felt very symbolic. It felt very visionary.
Mm-hmm.
It almost had, a lot of, it felt very spiritual to me.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while and took quite a bit of a time to kind of learn how to interpret this one for myself.
Did you feel like you were human in this dream, or did you feel completely disconnected from your humanness as you have now in the 3D?
So, actually interesting as you said that, and I was just thinking, so the beginning of the dream, like, I felt very much like I couldn't remember what really happened before the moment of me really getting thrown out.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was coming from this state of, like, really, I was feeling very powerful.
Right.
Like, I could fly. Like, I knew that I could fly. I could sense this otherworldliness about myself. I did not feel human. And then when I was falling, all of a sudden, I had this incredible fear of die. Like, oh my God, I'm falling towards the ground and I can't save myself. And I was, like, reaching for, and trying to fly. Like, I felt like I could just remember how to fly. Like, I could feel also, like, very viscerally feel, like, in my shoulder blades, like, where wings were. And I thought that was really interesting. Yeah.
So the tree, what does that represent to you? Do you have any idea of what it could mean? The tree itself?
Well, so I called this painting The Fall.
Yes.
Because and obviously there's some apples in the tree. It's kind of giving some, biblical symbolism, Garden of Eden kind of thing. The
forbidden fruits.
Yeah, like I kind of felt like there was something to do with the loss of innocence, and that being cast out of this like higher vibration, dimension, and falling towards a 3D material realm. Like, you're coming out of nature, out of this tree, and falling towards, earth and a tower, like a constructed, tower, which obviously towers have a lot of symbolism.
They do.
Just in themselves, and it kind of almost, like, reminded me, I don't know, you haven't seen The Neverending Story, but for those who've seen The Neverending Story, it reminded me of the Ivory Tower, but it looked totally different, had a totally different vibe in the dream, and had a completely different meaning of, like, when I saw it, like, it was empty. Also, it was like, it didn't look like a place that anyone would be.
Just a hollow kind of obelisk.
Yes, more like an obelisk.
Right. Interesting that it's hollow on the inside. I'm already starting to see some parallels, but I'm wondering if you're catching them. The tree is the pattern of creation, as we know, right? You have the spherical toroid that the tree follows. The tree of life, yes. It comes out of a singularity, comes out through the top, energy flowing outward, goes around, and then eventually the leaves fall, the fruit of the tree, the forbidden fruit in a way, drops to the ground, is reabsorbed by the roots, and the continual flow goes on. And we have these plants here kind of demonstrating that. If you observe trees and everything kind of the way it flows, that pattern reemerges. So the tree, to me, it's representing that pattern of creation, the very singularity of creation where you were a creative being, but you fell out of it. You correlate that with the Garden of Eden. What happened there? You had Adam and Eve, the divine masculine and divine feminine, tempted by a serpent, which is wisdom
and knowledge.
And knowledge.
Yeah.
So
it's the knowledge of the, creative power of the feminine and the masculine coming together.
Yeah, that's right.
The sexual energy.
Yeah.
Essentially. And so also so that's my first tattoo, the Celtic tree of life on my back.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. There's that correlation there too for you.
Yeah.
Falling out of the tree as a non-human being, that almost feels like winged, maybe dragon. And dragons are called serpents as well.
There was definitely, I felt it kind of had there was that in between you and I.
Yes.
And then in the dream there was very much these were kind of angelically winged, white feathery winged beings.
Angelic beings falling out of the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
What does that sound like to you?
I know. It was kind of funny because when I woke up, I was like, wow, I'm not a religious person at all. And I've only, in the last, maybe 5 years, become more interested in, mystical Christianity and Gnosticism and stuff like that. And, it took a while for me to kind of open up to anything related to Christianity because I don't know, I had a bad taste in my mouth of it from the hypocrisy that we're so overexposed to that we're resistant to looking at anything good about it. And because there's so many people that are just very superficially indoctrined with a very hollow version of what these beliefs are about.
Starting at the very beginning, the modern Christianity is not Christianity. Jesus did not practice it. He practiced Essene Judaism. Modern Christianity is essentially Saulism. So you have Apostle Saul, who converted and changed his name to Paul. I think I'm going to keep calling him Saul because Christians are going to get their feathers ruffled on this one, but he did a major disservice to the church by creating all of these ideas about what Jesus taught secondhand. He only had one first-hand experience, that's him getting blinded in the desert, and after that he kind of created a cult that has been a very successful cult but has nothing to do with true roots of Christianity. And I think the true roots of Christianity is particularly what we're talking about here in the book of Genesis. It has a lot to it. Yeah. Serpent falling from the Garden of Eden, the sky. But you are the serpent. And as we found out, I'm also the serpent.
Yeah.
And remember the painting of Ra over there? No, in episode 2, I talked about how that is essentially Lucifer, the serpent. Yet I felt really connected to that being as well. He felt connected to this story.
Yeah.
So maybe that's doing a full kind of run around that you and I are Lucifer, the light bringers, but we fucked up. We got too involved in the creation here. We got grounded to this earth instead of staying up in our heavenly realms. And really the story of humanity right now has become our story too, of us elucidating all of the wisdom, but this time with love, to bring ourselves and our creation back up to a higher level. How does that resonate with you?
Yeah, well, and I mean, there's a lot of esoteric Christian art where you have a picture of Jesus, but if you block out half of his face, you see the dark, the Lucifer side.
Yes.
And the other side is the more peaceful, gentle Jesus side. They're two sides of the same coin.
I believe Jesus is part of the Lucifer oversoul, teaching us to have the Christ consciousness. Yeah, it's it guides. They both are guides. One is shadow work and one is light work. And one, it doesn't have to be looked at as good or evil when you're looking at what
esoteric Christianity is about. It's rooted in Hermeticism and alchemy. So there's a lot of alchemy in the Bible and about transmuting that shadow into the light and overcoming that internal, darkness, but working with it because it's a part of you.
It really is. Yeah. It's black and white. Interesting what you got here, right? A little checkerboard. What does a black and white checkerboard symbolize? I know we've talked about this. I just think it will be good for the audience to hear.
Yeah, well, to me, I feel like the black and white. There's a lot going on with the checkerboard symbolism. That's you have the masculine and the feminine, the positive and the negative. It's sort of that membrane of reality, that brings creation into the third dimension.
Yeah, you need both, don't you? The masculine and the feminine to make create something.
Yeah. So again, with the idea of the knowledge of that union, right, that casts out from that point of one, right? So you're in a one state of one consciousness.
Yes.
These beings, these winged beings living in the tree, they're in harmony. There is one because they're all equal in this way. And then when the knowledge of the separation of feminine and masculine, okay, so we are not all one. We are different. We are, but together we are one. It's there's a lot of, how do you I'm not a scholar.
Yeah.
So this is stuff that I've interpreted and from my own experiences and picking apart what was shown to me. So, you've got the space, sort of like these are sort of stars, but it is space. And what is space? It's that
space in between.
Yes, the space in between.
It seems very binary to me.
Yeah, feminine and masculine. If anyone's familiar with Egyptian artwork, the arms, the rays coming down, and the light force coming from, that source of one, that light, which is, God, as one consciousness in the tree represented there.
God.
And the earthly plane down here,
yes.
With the, showing an atmosphere and ground.
You know what I'm seeing? According to the law of one, the different densities. You have the third density, which is where we are, where we're rooted. The roots, they're trying to climb their way back up, right? See the fourth, the heavenly density, the high and low astral realms. Then the fifth, the mental plane, black and white. And then the sixth, the return to the unity consciousness, love and wisdom, love and light together. You know what else is funny? My painting, Wheel of Fortune, represents the same thing going from the inside out, from the inside to the top.
Yeah.
The understanding the unity consciousness to be on a sixth density plane and beyond, which is where I identified Lucifer as emanating from and falling through the mental plane, the astral, into the physical. It's interesting how the symbolism just lines up despite us not thinking about each other's paintings when we were doing our individual pieces there.
Yeah. When I was originally doing this painting, I didn't have any intention to include wings down here.
Yeah.
But it was obvious. Again, there's an Egyptian symbolism in here with Isis wings.
Yeah, but you didn't know you painted that. Yeah. I remember you painted that, and I told you, hey, that's Isis.
Well, I was painting. Right? Yeah, well, I was doing the wings. I was using a reference of Isis for the wings. Okay, yeah. But I didn't see, what you saw was the actual spire being the body.
Yes.
Of
and her holding the eye was the flame.
She has the crescent bullhorns, which is the divine feminine. That's Hathor as well. And the moon, which is also Hathor. So there's, I hope I'm right about that. I could.
We'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah. So And then the flame, the eternal violet flame.
It's almost giving me like reverse Mordor vibes too.
Yeah, like right? Instead of the
it looks like the Tower of Saruman.
Yeah, Sauron.
Sauron is the black one. Saruman had the ivory tower, right?
Are you thinking of the books? Because I didn't read the books.
Maybe I'm just getting things confused and we'll have to edit this out later. But it definitely has that tower look. But the wings, by the way, I love what you did there. They glow under UV.
Yes.
That looks really cool.
Yeah, they're done there's glow in the dark paint on there. And there's also like a...
pearlescent almost.
It's a pearlescent, if you kind of shift it a little bit. It's a little bit there, but...
It's very subtle.
Yeah.
And sub-perceptible, but in the right lighting, it really does a thing. Yeah. It's fun. You got the fall. And the rays of light coming in from the golden, right? Golden eyeball as well, which is kind of how I imagined that particular plane. There's a lot of gold energy there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very... It was interesting. It was like, I don't even know... Did I see other beings? I knew they were there, though. It was very much like... I felt like anything in this space could appear if you wanted it to. Like, in the moment that you thought or needed something, it became. But otherwise, it was sort of like this... I don't want to say void, but...
soup of opportunity and possibility.
Yeah. It felt... Anyways, so that's that painting. There's some UV reactive stuff. Definitely does a little bit of black light action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said in your dream, fell out of the tree and fell down all the way to the ground, right? Basically, you're falling through the different densities on your way down. It's interesting that the tower reaches to the mental plane, the fifth there, where the black and white really is clear as day delineated there. But clearly, the roots and the motion of the energy and the wings pointing up, it's going up, the energy is returning, but... I'll get back to the shapes of things, but this represents the feminine for me. Like the return back to source, the divine feminine. So I had to cut in during editing because it totally looks like a ding-dong as well. So perhaps this represents the unity of the divine masculine and feminine together, making their way back up to source. And who was originally tempted in the Garden of Eden story?
Oh, it was Eve.
It was Eve, right? So it's up to Eve and Adam to return. It is an integration of the divine feminine energy in men and women here on earth. The creativity. Us getting in touch with the creativity and getting reconnected to kind of the unity consciousness and eventually back up to source.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Right? So what you're doing here with your art, these are postcards from the beyond. You're telling people a message. This isn't just a fancy random painting that came to your mind. You saw this is a real experience, and you did your absolute best to be as faithful as possible to all the imagery coming in. Because of that, we're able to get all this information out of it, and I believe that symbolism speaks on a subconscious level to people. So this painting, if it's seen by other people, maybe even normies, it kind of, they may not understand it on a conscious level, but they understand it in their soul, you know. Their heart remembers when they see that, and that imagery gets imprinted, and it's almost like a key, you know. When you're trying to manifest something, you have to have a clear image of what you are manifesting in your mind and the feelings associated with it. People get creeped out by this painting. Remember when we did Denizens? Yeah. A couple of people actually said that painting is really weird to me.
Did they?
Yours. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Creepy, because it scares them because there's something real in it.
It was okay. So like that dream, like was very emotional. Like I remember waking up crying, like very, very like heavy. Like I felt like I lost something really important. I remember just like waking up like crying.
What is the title of the piece?
The fall.
That would be a pretty upsetting thing to happen.
And the fall feeling was very I felt like I jumped out of I was skydiving. I felt, and I've never been skydiving, but it felt like I was falling for a long time.
Yeah.
Part of me sort of knew that I was in a dream when I started getting closer to the ground.
Yeah. That's interesting that the quickest way to wake up in your dream, even look up Inception, is to simulate a fall.
A kick.
What's a kick?
This, Ariadne, would be a kick.
That's also actually in a book that I have. It's called Projections of the Astral Body, I'm pretty sure, by Carrington and Muldoon. It's from the night, I think the copyright on the original body of the text is 1929.
Interesting.
And he talks about using falling as a mechanism to become aware that you're in a dream. So for people that are trying to get into lucid dreaming, that's a trick
trigger.
That's often talked about, but it's been used for a very long time, and that's just in what I would say the modern world too. Who knows? In indigenous cultures, you get into. I've read some books from other, Toltec at dreaming practices and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff about falling. It's a very cross-cultural kind of experience, I think, in dreams.
It's, I believe, a universal experience, but what I'm getting at is you were falling in that dream for a long time, yet you did not wake up. It was that important of a dream for you to finish.
Yeah.
Your astral kept you anchored in that space until the message was received fully.
Yeah. It was something that I had to see. And it was interesting, as I was falling, I could see this. It went from this space that I was in the tree being this absolutely infinite dimension of a space. I was in space, but I knew that I was in a tree. And then when I fell out of the tree, when I no longer had I feel like the fall is talking about the fall from grace.
Yes.
The fall from our connection, our one connection, the fall from innocence of, when humanity's consciousness was at one point more in a state of harmony with the earth, in the way animals are.
So it's the veil. The veil came into effect there, the veil separation.
Yeah, and as I'm falling, all of a sudden I become aware that this tree, it just looks like a tree to me now.
Yes.
It's impenetrable.
Well, I try to interpret that from a physical kind of perspective.
Totally.
4 dimensions that we have. You have 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. What happens if you add another dimension of time? You have all these different paths that the universes can take, the idea of parallel universes. And it branches out into individual branches, with each choice being a new branch in that tree, working its way out. So what you were experiencing when you were in that tree, you were seeing the universe and every possible iteration and possibility of that same universe as well. Does that sound like it could be resonating with you?
Yeah.
And then as you fell out of this tree, you no longer saw all those possibilities. You fell into the singularity of it.
Yeah.
The veil came onto you. The body that we wear right now broke us off from the ability to see every possibility. And right now the creative power is our need to be able to imagine a better world, imagine a possibility that we want and go in that direction, and therefore relearn the ability to climb the tree, to climb back up into that tree.
To fly back up.
Fly. You think humans can fly?
I think humans can fly.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think there's got to be a way that unlocked potential of the human mind, to potentially gain function of, conscious control of our electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
And our resonance, our body's resonance. And we have a crystal-like structures somewhere in our brain.
Yeah, they're called electrolytes. Your bottle's full of them.
Well, yeah, but that are sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies. Is that
they cause electromagnetic impulses to travel down your nerves. Mm-hmm. You have sodium and potassium, the positive and negative ions. Mm-hmm. When you change these ions around, you create an electric pulse, a very, very low voltage that runs from your brain and through your heart, through your entire nervous system. Yeah. So it's operated by electrolytes, which is funny because you're always sipping on electrolytes all the time. So maybe getting your body into balance, this will unlock the ability of a human eventually fly, but first maybe hover a little bit.
I think that, raising your frequency is a thing.
So what does it mean to raise one's frequency? What does that look like to you?
I think it means having as clean a diet as possible. What does that mean? I don't know. Just trying to get rid of toxins and processed chemicals and products out of the body as much as possible. I mean,
the insulating stuff that insulates electrical impulses, the weird fats and stuff, lack of minerals, just pure fat, pure insulator.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to be lean and be in good shape too.
And that's been a process for me because I've been dealing with like a lot of different random issues with like my skin, and it's been a journey. I've talked about it on my podcast with parasite cleansing, and that's just been, figuring out what, since I've done the parasite cleanse earlier this year in January, my whole body has just become so much less tolerant to any kind of garbage, like anything processed. Anything artificial. My body has less tolerance for it to no tolerance. My liver probably is, what needs to detox to help my skin a little bit, but I don't know. It's been a journey. I'm trying to go to carnivore as well, like you.
Yeah.
And
it feels great.
Yeah, like I've noticed I have so much more energy, and I can eat less when I'm eating more protein and more animal-based, food and fats.
Yeah. And
really cutting out seed oils, and so anything deep fried, anything processed with like hydrogenated soybean or anything hydrogenated oils, like just go for what do you want? Saturated fats?
You want saturated fats?
Yeah.
You want really red meat is the most nutrient dense. People tell you to avoid red meat because of gout and other problems. Red meat is necessary for a carnivore diet because it's very fatty, and fat is good. Carnivore essentially puts you in a state of ketosis. So you're burning fat for fuel.
It's bad if you're eating fat and carbs, right?
Exactly.
That's when you get something like that.
That's when you start having, first of all, insulin issues, right?
Yeah. And
insulin spike causes you to build up fat out of the carbohydrates.
And simple carbohydrates.
Simple ones.
So,
and even the more complex ones too, just the more complex ones, they burn faster, burn slower.
Yeah.
The simple ones, the insulin goes into your blood and it tells you to store those carbs as fat. And anything else.
There's actually toxins in fruit and vegetables, but our bodies tolerate them.
They do.
So it's not obviously. Fruit and vegetables are not toxic to us. They have toxins in them, though, that your body can become sensitive to over time.
Yes.
And this is the thing where like a lot of people are starting to find like the vegetarian and the vegan thing doesn't work. And because we're treating a lot of our fruits and veggies with toxic chemicals, even when they say it's organic, there's also like acceptable levels of within organic, you know, licensing. So it's like you can't, I've been sensitive to chemicals on fruits and grasses and stuff like that since I was a kid. I started having allergies to things. And it was only like, you know, fruits and vegetables. Lots of things in the grass categories. Carrots, raw carrots. I couldn't have carrot juice.
Jeez.
Like, you know, you think that things are healthy, but then you're having, you know, a histamine reaction to things. Nothing super severe, luckily, as a kid, but, you know.
Juice isn't even really healthy.
No, it's sugar.
It is. It's sugar and a bit of maybe vitamins and minerals, but you're not getting
You're taking the fiber out of it.
And the fiber is what makes it healthy. It slows down the absorption of sugar so you don't pick up weight, and it gives you a slow burn of fuel instead of throwing a propane tank into a fire. It's just adding a stick here and there so it burns for longer and it's more controllable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, to each their own, but I've definitely been finding that I'm getting a lot out of eating more meat and making that transition.
I got you hooked on butter.
Yeah, I didn't know you could just eat butter.
Yeah, you can.
I just didn't think, you know, just eat some butter. That's good.
What did you do with Fat Girl Move? You put some butter on beef jerky and ate it at work? By the way, yes.
Yeah, I had butter on beef jerky with some cheese. Yeah, one of my coworkers was just like, "What you got there?" I was like, butter, beef jerky. Just like, really? Wow. Yeah. And I'm like, yep.
Surprise, surprise. You're just training your body to consume fat instead of sugar for fuel.
Yeah, and I've noticed that when I start, like, the first thing that I eat in the day is something like that.
Yeah.
Like, my energy goes a little bit farther. And I don't have the cravings for sweets.
Yeah. And guess what?
If I start with carbohydrates, I have cravings for sweets throughout the day.
Not only that, you're putting unnecessary inflammation and stress on your body because it's a fast-burning fuel. It spikes your heart rate, which causes a release of cortisol, which causes inflammation, and it puts you in a fight or flight mode immediately at the start of your day. So the end of the day comes, you've already expended all of your energy and you're crashing. Yeah. And this constant up and down, God, that's the worst thing you could do for yourself. Never start your day with a carb. Always protein and fat.
I love how we got here.
Anyway, it seems like every time I'm talking about diet, but it's just diet is so important. It came from us talking about how humans can fly. Our key to our ascent is to not dump the body, it's to ascend the body.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, I think there's a lot of new agers out there that want to believe that we're gonna, like, you know, the point is to escape this reality and go somewhere better. But I think that what we're really supposed to do here is embrace where we are and make this place that Garden of Eden. Like, bring it here. Bring that, you know, we have the ability to create as we believe and as, you know.
Yes, we do. This is exactly what artists are doing and what you're doing right here. You're doing divine work. You're bringing in the beyond, the reality that we can connect to inner dreams, and the reality that has been forgotten in the heart of humanity. You're bringing it here to the earth. You're literally doing what you just said, building the new earth right here on this old earth through art. Artists like you are extremely important.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I appreciate you seeing that in what I'm doing.
It's a beautiful piece, actually. I love it. It's very mystical. And it can be creepy. I don't know, there's something about the colors I find in the tree. It's kind of dark, but because of the dark, it really has this level of mystique and it draws you in right into the eye. Very well done on that one.
It was interesting, like, you know, because I started it with these, like, kind of more earth tones, right?
Yes.
And then bringing in these blues, but then also the earth tones in the tower and the blue in the eye.
Definitely, it has flow. And I could see the flow. You start here in the tree, right? The pattern of creation, and boom, falls. And then it comes back up. It's almost like it's showing a repeating cycle, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Well, you almost get like the roots going down into the ground
All
and
the
then
way,
coming
yes.
back up.
Mm-hmm. Up the center of the trunk. Through the singularity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a piece.
It's a nice piece. Thank you for sharing that today.
Thank you for having me to share it.
It's an absolute pleasure as always, and I'm glad that my girlfriend is just so smart.
Oh,
Isn't
jeez.
She's cool. Yeah, really
Takes one to know
interesting
one.
conversations that we have. Yeah, takes one to know one. Okay, well, thank you for tuning in today. If you found this kind of information useful, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and also follow Psyryn's channel, psyryn
on Instagram, and then psy-ryn on YouTube.
On YouTube,
Yeah.
yes. So I'll put the link below as well. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and tune in next week when we have another new piece that we're going to show. I'm not sure if it's going to be Lauren back for more, or maybe I'll present Bugsies. Till then, ciao. Welcome to the Postcards from Beyond the Veil podcast, where we elucidate spirituality through art. My name is Jaeger, and I'm your mailman. Don't shoot the messenger. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to help us spread the word.